Hey, welcome back to another video. Uh, Education for fitness professionals. This topic is interesting. It's been done a few gazillion times throughout my career. I've watched these videos, I've made these videos, I've been in some other people's videos, and yeah, let's go. Fitness instructor or personal training education sucks in the United States. It just flat out sucks. We have no standards. Like, we're not morally corrupt. It's just that we don't have education standards where we can all agree on certain things. And that comes from basically the ideology that I know something better. Even the bare minimum stuff, uh, we don't agree on. Now, there's way too many personal training certifications out there, and what they tried to do in what, '07, I think it was 2007-ish, maybe a little bit earlier than that. They started with the NCCA accreditation for personal training. Now, what does that mean? It means an independent organization reviews your material and then puts a stamp on it, right? Wrong. What it was an independent organization made up of random individuals from all walks of life reviewing your exam. That's it. It was your exam, not the content or the quality of the content in your program. It was just the exam. And then they would deem it to be, yeah, this looks pretty good. Now, mind you, the people doing this were not all in the fitness industry, not even medical industry. You would have an auto mechanic, you would have a nurse, you would have an esthetician, you would have, a massage therapist or a nail tech or a pharmacy, like that would be the makeup. It would be some random group of people, and they would go through your exam and be like, okay, yeah, this meets our criteria, you're good to go, right? So you get that stamp of approval, and you're like, okay, cool. It's the standards of accreditation from the NCCA, the National Council of Crap and other crap. It's like a national certifying something agency. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It was just created, and then this came out. But training certifications have been around since the late '80s. So where were you guys before? Why do we need you now? Because anyone and their mother can come out with a certification. It's true. So anyway, I digress. So they started to rein in that with, the accreditation. So that knocked off a lot of the lower end certifications, because you had to pay a pretty decent amount of money to get this little stamp of approval. Now, I worked with and almost taught classes for a personal training company based out of North Carolina. Became really good friends with the owner. And he taught like the basic of basic personal training certifications, and he advertised it, and he was fully aware of it, and did not make it seem that, I'm teaching the absolute be-all, end-all of personal training certifications. Absolutely not. Saying, literally told everyone who took the certification that this gets you a foot in the door. Like, can you stop there? Yeah, cool. And he goes, some gyms may, take it, some gyms won't, but you could train privately with it, and you'll have a foot in the door, and you'll have, the knowledge base to do so. So he was really good about it, really smart about it. And like I said, I was there for his certification courses numerous times, and I helped facilitate them. And again, basic of basic stuff. So that was cool. So it did knock off like a lot of the lower end certifications that didn't want to pay the money and didn't have the marketing budget as like NASM or ACE or what is it? What, a couple of the other ones. ISSA now is pretty popular. So it started reducing the playing field here, knocking out a lot of competitors. So anyway, so now that becomes a staple. Do you have an accredited certification? Yes, even though it doesn't mean anything, but yes, we have one. Cool. Moving on. But that's where the similarities stop with a lot of these certifications. Price is never going to be a uniform thing because everybody's going to charge what they feel is the value of their product. So you can't put a uniform price on education. I mean, hell, colleges would be all the same price. Probably really more expensive than they are, but you get my drift. So what we needed to do is now start talking about what's best to teach a personal trainer. When I first started, close to 30 years ago, business education was never in any of the certification books. Never. Now, it's part of. There's a whole chapter in most certifications now on building a personal training business, selling, and all the things that never taught to us before are now being taught to the newer generation, and I think that's great. Okay, so you're not taking people's money and then throwing them out into the wilderness here and say, okay, go survive. You are equipping them with a little bit more tools. So bravo. However, we still can't come to an agreement on what the core is. And I've said this in a lot of classes that I taught, and I've said this in a lot of videos that I made, that you have one top certification clarifying or identifying the core. When you gotta get a strong core, you gotta work the core, as nothing but the transverse abdominis and the lower back muscles. So abs and back, abs and lower back, right? Then you have another certifying agency, now they're both NCCA accredited, identifying the core as everything in the lumbopelvic hip complex. So you're talking about hip flexors and a little bit of glutes and some adductors and the iliopsoas and all the quadratus lumborum, like all the abdominals, the obliques, the internal external obliques, the intercostals, all of these things. And then you hit the lower back, and then you have the lumbar, you have the spinal erectors, and all these fancy names of all these different muscles, and then they turn around and say, that's your core. Okay. Wow. So two major certifying agencies have different ideas of what the core should be. But again, both NCCA accredited. then you have your continuing education credits, and you have all these things that you have to do every 2 to 4 years, depending on which one you get. One of the biggest failures I saw when I first started getting these bigger name certifications was in the very beginning. They had half a chapter on, this is probably one of the bigger name certifications that's out there now. Had a half a chapter, not even a half a chapter, had like maybe 2 to 3 pages on biomechanics. Most of their book was written, their textbook was written on the way they want you to train. The OTM model, I believe it was, OTM. Something like that, if I remember, which I don't, because I gave up on them a long time ago. Yeah. They would rather you learn their way of training and do things their way than actually teach you how the human body moves and works. That has since changed. I don't know, maybe they saw a couple of my videos before. I don't know. But either way, a lot of that stuff has changed, and now they teach more, which is fantastic. Biomechanics is becoming a buzzword, okay? There's a lot of people who are going around saying, oh, I studied biomechanics. Okay, cool. If you took any kinesiology class or physiology class, yeah, they throw in biomechanics because you kind of need to know how that works. If you took any engineering classes, yeah, you're going to do human biomechanics, because especially if you do biomedical engineering. Biomechanics is a very broad topic. You know, I myself, on my business card, says biomechanics specialist. Yes. Why? Because I studied it, and it took me 9 years to get it. 9 years? Just about 9 years, actually. Yeah. I was studying part-time. But I studied, and I studied my ass off, and I learned. And then even now, I buy textbooks that I don't have, and I reread biomechanics, and I learn, and I listen to other courses. I will not be one of those guys who goes around spewing out lots of technical jargon. What I did before with the muscles of the core, that is probably the most I've ever done in a single sentence. Because the clients that I work with don't care. Most clients that most trainers work with don't care. And a trainer who uses that 90% of their time and uses that language, honestly, just sounds pretentious. And a lot of clients get turned off because they're just like, oh, I'm going to deal with one of these guys. So keep that in mind too. You know, that's part of the sales script too. You got to kind of mirror and match. You got to know who you're talking to, right? Now, I apologize if you hear my dog. There's a cat running around outside. But, so, back to the education system here in the United States. You can get numerous certifications. You can get numerous continuing education credits, other certifications to go with it. I did make comments about corrective exercise specialist certifications and how they're a joke, because all exercise is corrective exercise when it is applied appropriately. Anyway, moving on. Now, let's look at personal training certifications in the United Kingdom. They have 2 organizations. One's called REPS, which is the Registrar of Exercise Professionals, which isn't the big one anymore. It kind of split off and formed another group called CIMSPA, CIMSPA. It stands for something pretty big, and I don't remember what it was. But they pretty much handle a lot of the rep stuff, as well as the accreditation for personal training certifications. Now, in reps, there are levels. I don't even know if there's a level 1. I've only seen starting at level 2. Level 2, 3, and I've seen a level 4, but for nutrition, not for training. Level 2 is your standard fitness instructor, group fitness. They deem group fitness to be easier than one-on-one personal training, and it is. because you don't have to worry about form for one particular person. It's 30 people, but you can't do anything about it. So you got to keep up with me. I don't have to really worry about you. Sorry, guys. Sorry, group fitness. But so for the personal training is you start at level 2. You get that. You have to get that. And then you go to level 3. Level 3 will give you the qualification to work one-on-one with clients in a gym. You learn more anatomy, more physiology, more biomechanics. You learn more sales and business, and you learn how to conduct the assessments, and you learn how to do the walkthroughs, and you learn how to be a personal trainer. And a lot of it it's a hybrid online, but then you have to do practicals, and that's one of the major differences between UK and US certifications. Is the UK requires practicals. You have to show them physically that you can do this stuff. NASM doesn't have practicals. ACE doesn't have practicals. ACSM, ISSA, that nobody has practicals. You could study all this stuff online, then go take a proctored 200-question test and be done with it. And then you're a certified personal trainer. What? Okay. So that's how we're doing it. But the UK now, they require, practicals. And then that's pretty much where it stops. You become a member, you're registered, you're qualified, you can get insured, and you can go train. There's continuing education, there's more stuff you can do. It just adds tools to the toolbox, and there's no guarantee you make more money with it, but education usually never dictates a salary. So that's what you get. UK has one organization that oversees all fitness education. You have to be accredited by them in order to work in that country. Yes. This is the UK. Okay. I don't know how they do it in Italy. I don't know how they do it in China. I don't know how they do it anywhere else. This is just for the UK. And I know this because I was in London, and I'll be back in London in June. So, I asked, is there a United States equivalent to a reps level 3? And they said, well, we need to check, is your organization, as in my certifying agency, are they a member of the US reps? I'm like, there's a US reps? Never knew about this. So I look up US reps. There's only 2 certifying agencies in the United States that are members of the US reps. That's ACE, the American Council on Exercise, and ACSM, the American College of Sports Medicine. Those are the only 2 in the United States that are registered, that if you have a certification from them, you could possibly have a portability to the UK and train there. If you want to go train there. So you can go back and forth if you want. That's up to you. But then I found out in order to be a member of the US reps, an organization just has to have one NCCA accredited personal training certification and then pay membership. That is it. So it's just money making, to be honest, to be part of a club. So that's about that. And I only know that because I was looking at doing both, and now I could care less. But the education system in the United States for personal training is so monumentally flawed and mixed up, and I don't want to say incorrect because all of them teach really good things. I just wish all of them taught everything together. Like if you combined all of them together and only kept the parts that were missing from each one, oh my God, you would have amazing certifications. Now, there's programs to learn outside of this that aren't technically certifications. Prescript is a new one that hit the ground running a few years ago. They're based at one of the co-founders, I think his name was Dr. Jordan Shallow. Was a Canadian chiropractor. I think he's now living in the States. Absolute genius of an individual. I watch his videos a lot, saw him a couple of times online. The man's an absolute, like I said, genius. Knows everything there is to know about the human body, how it works, and just the concept of training and talking with people and dealing with humans. And in a lot of the staff on Prescript are either doctors or just really high-level trainers. I mean, these guys, men and women, are just top of the line. Now, their certification is like $1,800. It's like double most, ultimate package, personal training certifications is like close to $1,000 for most of them. Prescript is $1,800 for Prescript level 1. Then there's a level 2, I believe, is coming out. But already level 1 far surpasses a lot of the certifications that are out there in this country. It's just they're raising the bar on education. Before Prescript was resistance training specialist, Tom Purvis. Tom Purvis is a physical therapist out of Oklahoma City, who is another absolute genius. And he's very big into resistance profiles and force angles and knowing what is appropriate and not for trainers. I do posture assessments. He'll be the first one to tell you they're crap because you don't know what's happening on the inside of somebody's body, and he's 100% accurate, and I've said this in my own videos. We don't know what's happening there, so we can't say we're going to fix that. So corrective exercise is BS. He agrees, and I was like, oh, finally. I'm not 100% wrong, but we use the posture assessments basically as a guideline to see if anything changes moving forward. Because if it changed, then hey, guess what? That is something we could work on. And if it doesn't change, okay, that's your skeletal structure. That's not going to move. But if you're stronger and you're more fluid and you feel better and you move better, even with this posture that is irregular, then we're on the right track. And that's the whole point of that. Anyway, going back, resistance training specialist had its own variations also throughout its inception. It used to be resistance training specialist, and then it was RTS 1, 2, 3, and then now it's, I think, just he just does mastery. So you have to have basic understanding. You do a slew of online learning. You have to, because at the end of the last one, it gives you like a code that you could actually go to the live. He does live practicals because he needs to know that you're understanding what he's doing. So they require live. So you got to go to Oklahoma, and he only does it in Oklahoma. So you got to go there, Oklahoma City. Sorry, you got to go there and study. I have a friend who got the RTS designation, and I learned a lot from him in, starting in this industry 10, 15 years, 15, 20 years ago. So, yeah, I learned a lot from him. Met another gentleman who was also RTS certified and blew me out of the water as, with knowledge that I was just like, I can't soak this up fast enough. And a lot of my mentors and people I learned from have those certifications. Now, Prescript is another one, like I said before, that's going to be right up there. And I can't wait to start dabbling in that. I'm already on their newsletter. I always watch the YouTube videos. So constantly absorbing as much information as I can. What does this mean? Companies like Prescript and RTS are starting to gain traction and making other companies aware that there's other players in the game now. Hopefully the other ones will level up and get on the same page. Hopefully. I don't see that happening anytime soon because don't forget it is business and businesses need to make money. New York Sports Club in the early 2000s had a contract with NASM, so they would send their brand new trainers, run them through an education course created by NASM to work with New York Sports Club. I know because I was part of it. I helped facilitate that as well. And we pumped out trainers who were then newly NASM certified. Now, I believe New York Sports Club now works with ACE to do the exact same thing. So a lot of these companies, that's what they do. Equinox Fitness has their own in-house personal training program, which I believe all trainers have to go through. So it's all over the place. And I think we let it run rampant for so long that I don't think we can't rein it in. There's not going to be one better than the other because they're all missing something. There's not going to be the best one. There's not going to be the ultimate. There's not going to be the one that outlasts the others because they're all doing something to keep themselves alive. And I believe that's what we have to really focus on in the United States as far as education goes. I believe every trainer should have multiple certifications from multiple organizations. Not at the same time because that CECs would kill you. But at least go through each one, or not each one, because again, that financially is not worth it. Pick two and go to two, and then see the differences, learn the differences, and then see what they offer, and and then just take it from there. If you want to do more, do more. I've been trying to do so many at the same time, and I was like, I just can't afford all these. If I could take all the classes and the certifications that I want, it would cost me almost $10,000 a year to do so. I can go to college for that. Oh, that's the other thing too. College degrees. I spent 25 minutes talking about certifications. I totally forgot about college degrees. Now, college degrees are college degrees. You get a 4-year degree in exercise science. You got a 4-year degree in exercise science. Cool. What are you going to do with that? You going to go work in a gym? Hang out with the personal trainers? Like, seriously, what are you going to do with that? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Exercise physiologists are a different story. Some of them still get hired by hospitals and medical practices. Some of them, not all of them. They were used to be called glorified personal trainers. I think they know a little bit more than that, though. Most trainers can't do a VO2 max test. Exercise phys, you can. You can work cardiac rehab. With a degree in exercise science, you could probably go into management of a fitness facility. Other than that, I'm not really sure if there's any specific jobs that require an exercise science degree. To be honest, I really don't. But you learn a lot in 4 years. Will you learn more than your standard personal training certification? Probably. I can't say for certain. I don't have an exercise science degree, so I don't know. I went to school for physical therapy, so. And I'll give you a little hint. I never graduated. I was also a different person back then, different attitude. Thought I knew everything and had to leave a program. Anyway, enough about me. But I learned enough at the time that it wasn't what I wanted to do. But I've worked with plenty of physical therapists, and unfortunately, I hate to say this, that the younger ones coming out actually have no concept of proper rehab and physio and all that stuff. The education system in this country is based on the dollar, I believe. It's just We're pumping out less educated people, and we're charging more money than we ever did before. I probably could have just said that one whole statement in the beginning of this and saved everybody 30 minutes of watching. We're pumping out less qualified people and asking them to pay a lot more. Yeah, I could have saved 30 minutes. I could just edit this and take it. Oh my God. I just spent 30 minutes rambling about education, or the lack thereof. So if you want to become a personal trainer, you have a lot of options. Choose one that fits you. Choose one that fits your training ideology, if you have one. Also choose one that fits your budget. All of the big ones will get you a job in a gym. And then from there, you could learn the rest. Find yourself an old chiseled trainer, especially an old grizzled one too, like an old guy or an old woman who's been around for a while. They'll teach you a lot. Might even teach you some things not to do. But yeah, so go do that, and then experience is the ultimate teacher. And that's the best way for you to learn, is to actually go do the job. Alrighty? If you have made it this far, thank you so much. I do appreciate that. Please hit the like, subscribe button. Come on, you made it this far. I promise not to do another 30-minute video. All right? If you subscribe. No more 30-minute videos. Alrighty. Thanks, guys.